creative friends, it's Gwen with you back for another scrapbooking process video, and today's share is for Cut to You. I'll be using the My Mind's Eye Splendor collection for this project. This one was from 2018 and I remember I bought it new, and I bought it for those olive tones that you see there. It was actually a mood board challenge. So so I've really pulled a lot of those out of this collection, but there's heaps of gorgeous florals left and the most stunning swan paper, which I have not even cut into. Can you believe that? So, and in fact, funnily, this page doesn't cut into it either. I am working with this cut file, which is called Floral Tags, and I've cut it out nice and large. It's actually 19 centimeters high, and which is 7.5 inches for my USA peeps. And yeah, I've got a bit of a plan for this one. That's my photo that I'll be working with. And I've also pulled these goodies from my stash because I am on a bit of a stash bust at the moment. So I've gone ahead and backed my photo using the little bit of that olive stripe that I had left. And then I've also off camera backed the cut file. So I've really just chosen really the elements that I had bits and pieces left of. It was a little bit tight actually to back this one because I don't think I had very much of that light peach pattern paper left. And yeah, not too much of that dark pink either. So I actually backed the file while I was on a Zoom call. Since all of this changes and we've not been able to get away to scrapbook very much, a couple of my scrap friends and I have been trying to make a bit more of an effort to take the time to Zoom call and scrap and create together. So it was a Saturday night for this one and I wasn't really feeling like putting a whole page together. So I just sat there and chatted and back the cut files and thought I'll pop them onto a page later. And today is that later. Yeah, so because I had that hard work done, when it came to make the page, it was actually came together quite quickly. And I have had a bit of a chance to have a think about the plan for the page. So yeah, so the photo's going to go on the left there. And that lovely there is going to be the title. So I did just build though the cluster there, that title and the cluster and the frames, again while I was on the Zoom call. And yeah, I just kept going until it got to a point where I was, okay, now I need to choose a photo and now I need to think about the rest of the page. So then I just popped it aside and then today pulled it back out and yeah, I'm going to finish it off. So that's the plan right there. The photo will go on the left and then I will build everything out from that. So I've gone through the collection and I've pulled out a stack of the glorious floral pieces. They are so lovely and I'll end up adding those as my layers and then yeah, build the page from there. First up though, I am going to glue my photo down. So to do that and to ensure that everything's nice and straight, you'll see I'm using the lines on my cutting mat there. So I've lined up the bottom edge of the tag along one line and then I've positioned my photo where I like it and then lined up the line on the mat to make sure that the photo's straight. I find that that's the best way when you've got two separate elements that you want to layer together, but you want to make sure that everything's still nice and square. So yeah, that's how I do that. And you'll see here too that this is one of those pages that I build from the top down and the bottom up. There are a couple now on my channel, and this is another one that's like that. So essentially this one though has started with that middle layer because the middle layer is going to end up being the cut file tags. And then of course I've built on top of that with the lovely title and the photo. And now I'm going to build underneath that with the floral die cut pieces and I'm going to marry the background to that middle cut file layer. Now you'll also see there that a lot of these lovely embellishments are quite big, actually really large. So my strategy for using those up is to actually cut them in half. So I will get an idea of where I want one part of the die cut and I'll position it and then that will give me a plan for where's best to cut it in half, and then I'll use them as two separate pieces. So I actually do that quite a lot for anything that's quite big, or anything maybe that I don't like a certain part of. So say there's maybe 3 or 4 flowers and there's maybe one that I'm not really keen on. So I'll try and either cut it to remove the one that I'm not real keen on, or I'll position it within my layers where it's not that obvious. So yeah, I can definitely recommend doing that. And yeah, so we're just really looking at layers here. And it's about now that I am thinking I really need to commit to locking down those tags. So there is some adhesive behind there, and I'm just really sticking it down piece by piece. I don't remove all the adhesive at once. I actually only remove 1 or 2 pieces because it's super high tack, and if I position it wrong and it's not straight, I'm not going to get it back up. So my trick for that is to just remove 1 small piece of the tape, get it locked into position, and then flip the page over, and yeah, then I can remove the rest of the tape and everything's nice and straight and exactly where I want it to be. So yeah, the plan is to have a cluster above the photo there on the left, and then another cluster down the bottom on the right. And the third part will be, your eye will kind of be drawn from the top left to the bottom right of the page. And yeah, so I have found a spot for that lovely heart. Now that's from Charm Creations, and it's called a DIY music note heart. And Charm is another little Aussie business, and yeah, I love her charms. She makes them all by hand, and they're always really super like versatile. They're not super themed or specific, which I really love, because you can buy a stack of them, have them in your stash, and put them on all kinds of layouts. So I really love that. And this one actually is called a DIY one because you're supposed to mist it, or you can add paint and like change it up and make it your own. But we all know how much I love mixed media, not. So yeah, I just leave mine plain, and they're perfectly beautiful as they are. So I am now working on the bottom cluster there, and I have to say it actually was a little bit trickier than I thought it was going to be. And what made it tricky was, funnily enough, the little gap between the tags. So there were some pieces of ephemera that I positioned that I really liked the position of, but you could see where I had cut the die cut in half. So I couldn't put them there. I had to sort of scooch them more over to the right. And then I didn't really like that because they were too far underneath the die cut piece that's flowing down the bottom there. So I do kind of fuss with this a little bit, and then I thought, oh, do I tack something in underneath that bottom right hand corner? How do I go about making that look? Because that's the thing with clusters. They're like super positioned. Like you go to an awful lot of trouble to position everything in a cluster, but the outcome is that you're trying to make it look like it naturally fits there, or that it's like a natural cluster of goodies. So if you know what I mean, especially when you're working with florals, you want it to sort of look the same way as it would, on a rose bush, or, like a gathering of flowers. I hope that makes sense. So it's that, yeah, it's that fine balance between making everything look natural and like it's meant to be where it is, but it's all very placed. It's all very positioned on purpose. And then too, I was messing with these wooden hearts. So they were from my stash that I had pulled, and I've used heaps of those. I think they came in maybe a pack of 50 or something from Craft years ago. And I think I've only got those 3 left. So I was super keen to try and get those on the page as well. And yeah, so there's a bit of shuffling that goes on. I did end up cutting that die cut, the leaf end, the stalks off of that die cut, because I just couldn't position it where I wanted. I couldn't scooch it under things with those stems on. So yeah, I did risk it, which was a bit risky, because if I didn't end up using it, I'd be stuck without the stems. So anyway, worth it, because that's actually where it ends up staying, and it fixes that cluster problem because then I can position this green rose on the left there and see it. You can see it through the gap in the tags. So yeah, that was the drama with that bottom cluster, and just getting it to sort of flow not only from under the tags but also flow from underneath the title. So there's like a bit of a dead space there between the lovely title and the edge of the tag. So yeah, I have a bit of a hard time with that, but it works out in the end. So yeah, the cluster at the top actually came together super easy. That was just one large die cut piece, and then the green rose flower that I have mounted up on foam tape, and then one other little leaf sort of piece, which I only added really because it's that darker one. So I wanted there to be the rule of threes, or the triangle kind of, what do they call that, visual triangle. So there's a dark leaf at the top left, and then there's the other two dark leaves on the bottom. So yeah, and I tried 2 of those hearts to see if that would work, and lots of other things, and I actually cut all of that out because I ended up with these 2 gold hearts. So they are significantly smaller than the wooden embellishments that I was trying, those wooden hearts, so much smaller, and they actually fit there perfectly. I'm really happy with that. They're not, I think the problem with the wood ones was that they were too big because we already had that charm creation heart, which is quite big. So I think it just, the smaller hearts balance out that larger heart much better. So yeah, so things are getting serious, and I am sticking everything down. And that's really how the page comes together. So yeah, while I finish gluing everything down and locking in everything, I did want to really quickly mention that I am doing a Stash Bust Big Stuff series on the channel, where I take big scrapbook supplies such as big alphas and big die cuts, and I get them out of my stash and onto my layouts. So if you have big stuff in your stash, you might want to check that out. I'll pop a link above. And yeah, just another big thank you to everyone who's subscribed. We've had lots of new subscribers recently, and yeah, big shout out to you. Thank you for being here. It really does mean the world, and I am having, you know, such a good time making these videos and connecting with you all. It's been really lovely. So as always, I will leave you with some close-up images at the end so that you can see all the gorgeous details, and I will lift the page in a second here too. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, my lovely creatives. I will see you in the next video. Bye!